everybody, it's Katie from Ray & Company Face Painting and Body Arts and the Ray & Co Insiders channel. In this video, we are going to be doing a rainbow pot of gold tutorial for sort of the St. Patty's Day time frame. And the supplies that I'm going to be using today are, I have a tag regular white and a tag regular black for line work. These are wax-based paints. A cheapo mister bottle to use to activate my paint. I will be using a little bit of a sponging technique today. So I like to use these face painting. They're high density sponges. I prefer sort of these teardrop sponges, but these half round sponges work really nice as well. So I've got that handy. For the rainbow today, I'm actually going to be using an Arty Brush cake, and it is called Lotus. So it's a really pretty bright rainbow. I guess not your typical rainbow. It just got goes from, so it kind of starts with purple and then has these really pretty neons in it as well. So we're going to be using this. This is a one-stroke cake, so we'll be using that. And then we'll be using some Mama Clown Cosmetic Gold Glitter. Always a favorite. In terms of brushes, I will be using a 3/4 inch flat brush today. I'll probably be using a big drop brush as well. And then in terms of paints, if you want to pick up this How to Build Your First Face Painting Starter Kit guide, it kind of goes through different levels of kits that you can sort of get started with. So if you're interested in face painting for volunteering, or just picking it up as a hobby, or even doing some professional face painting, that is a great guide to get started with. You can find that over at my website, rayfaceart.com/learn, or check the description and see if there's a link. All right, so let's get started. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and activate some, I'm going to go over to my paints. I'm going to activate some, let's pull it up here for you. I don't know if you can see it. Let me turn it around. I've got some sort of white shimmer here. I can't remember who this one is by. I like to buy paints from different vendors, so there's a lot of different brands in my palette here. This, I think, is from Graftobian, which is a Madison, Wisconsin based company. Okay, so I'm going to come back over to my face, and we're just going to dab on some eyeshadow real quick. So this is just a real pretty shimmer eyeshadow, or paint that you could use as an eyeshadow. And then I'm going to go ahead and grab my one-stroke cake. So off camera, I'm just going to take my one-stroke and my mister bottle, give it 3 or 4 mists. I'm going to take my 3/4 inch flat brush and just load that up. It's still pretty tacky, so I'm going to give it a couple more mists. I don't want it to get it too watery to where the colors start bleeding together, so I just kind of do 1 or 2 at a time to sort of get the consistency that I'm looking for. I'm looking for something kind of creamy. Go in there again. All right, now we're getting somewhere. It's not pulling on my paintbrush as much. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to kind of do a little bit of a half rainbow here up to about this point in the eyebrow. So we're just going to do a little swoosh like this, and then we're going to pick it back up over here and go down. You may have noticed that I flipped my brush over. Obviously, it's loaded on both sides, so if I need it to be a little bit more opaque, I can just flip it back and forth. We'll give it one more quick load. And just go over this area again. All right, so that makes it nice and opaque. So I'm going to go ahead and rinse my 3/4 inch flat, and then I'm going to grab my Big Drop Filbert brush. These brushes, I don't know if I mentioned, are the Paint Pal Classic brush from the Paint Pal Classic brush collection. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and take my filbert brush, load it up with some Tag Regular White. And we're going to just draw a little cloud with this guy. This Big Drop brush is handy to kind of get color down fast. I'm going to have my teardrop sponge handy that I had loaded before with the, hold on, I can't paint and talk at the same time, with the shimmer, the white shimmer. So I just have it handy so that after I make that stroke, I can come in here and sponge it out to give it a little bit of a fade. You do have to be careful a little bit. I don't know if it's coming across on camera, but when you paint over color with white, you do have to be careful of bleeding. In this case, I think it looks fine, so we're just going to leave it. And I need a little bit more room on the bottom here for my gold. So I am just going to take a wet wipe, just a baby wipe. I prefer the Water brand or Water Wipes brand wet wipe because it really doesn't have very many ingredients at all in it. It's mostly water, which works really well for water-based paints. So I just shortened up that rainbow a little bit, and what I'll do is I'll load that filbert brush back up, and we will come over here. We're going to go up here to the yellow. And this is a Fab yellow, F-A-B. Don't ask me which yellow it is, but I do know that this is the Fab brand. Okay, we'll come back over to our face. And we're just going to sort of sponge on, if you will, just kind of tap on some yellow. At this point, while the yellow is really wet, it's a good idea to come in here and do some glitter. You can use this sort of loose glitter. If you have it in a poofer bottle, you could poof it on there. I also like using Pixie Paint has a chunky glitter that's mixed with an aloe vera base. You can't use it over paint, but it's really pretty to use sort of around a design. All right, I'm going to go ahead and rinse out my Big Drop brush. And load it up with some black, and then we'll do our pot. This black is nearing the end of its life. It's great. I usually don't take this one on the job. I just use this one for tutorials because I'm trying to get it, I'm just trying to utilize every last bit of it, really. Okay, so to do the pot of gold, I'm just going to do a quick teardrop. I'm using kind of the side and the toe of the brush. So I'm just going to kind of press it down, drag it over to get a teardrop over here as well. And I'll fill in the end here and just make a pot shape. Simple as that. All right, so rinsing my brush again. I'm going to grab my number 3, I think. I'm going to go with a number 3 round brush. Bring in my white. And we're just going to add a couple last minute starbursts and dots to finish this design off. Now when you're doing line work with a round brush, if you, one, have really good brushes, first of all, start with that. But secondly, if you hold your brush perpendicular to your work surface, you're going to get a better result in terms of controlling it. So it may look a little bit like I have my brush at an angle, depending on how this camera is positioned, because I wanted you guys to be able to see what I was doing, but my brush is perpendicular to the face. So we add on a couple little starbursts and dots. You could also come in here and add on a little, well, before I go over the black, what I'm going to do is just outline my cloud a little bit. So I'm going to activate this white a little bit more. And so you can come over here and outline your cloud. This is just a nice to have. I don't necessarily do this all the time, but if you have time and you can add a few extra details to just make a design pop, that's always nice. And then finally, if you want to add a little highlight to the pot, it's still kind of drying. This is a plastic practice board, so sometimes the colors dry a little bit slower on here, but you can come in here and just do a quick swoosh across that way, and then over here as well. Just give it a little bit of a pop. So there you have it. This is a fun design to do for St. Patty's Day. If you had a texture stencil with some shamrocks on it, you could add that in as well, depending on, again, the style of your event, whether it's free to the public or volunteer, or maybe you're doing some sort of a pay per face. This would be a nice half face design. But it goes pretty quick, and we just started out with some sponging. We used the Arty brush Lotus cake, which you can get at sillyfarm.com. A little bit of a basic yellow and some gold glitter, and you're black, and then you're done. So if you, again, want to head over to rayfaceart.com/learn, you can pick up this how to build your first face painting starter kit. It's a buyer's guide, kind of documents my journey on how I went from something really simple and built my kit up over time. And I've got 4 different budget levels in here, so really kind of thought through that, and that resource is available for you. Check it out in the description. There might be a link there. Otherwise, again, head over to rayfaceart.com/learn. You can also follow me on Instagram, and I am over there at rayfaceart as well. All right, until next time, we'll see you later.